Have you ever looked at a familiar Bible story and realized you were missing the most important part? You read the words, you know the characters, you have heard the sermons since you were a child. The wedding at Cana, Jesus turning water into wine. It is famous. It is celebrated. It is the very first miracle Jesus performs in the Gospel of John. But what if I told you that this story is not really about wine? What if the miracle was never just about saving a party, fixing a catering mistake, or keeping the guests happy? Sometimes, we get so caught up in the surface level of the miracle that we completely miss the message hiding just underneath it. We focus on the what, and we forget to ask the why. Why wine? Why at a wedding? Why these specific jars? And why did Jesus choose this exact moment, in this exact way, to reveal his glory for the very first time? You see, Jesus did not do random magic tricks. He did not perform miracles just to impress people or to show off his power. Every single thing he did was a sign. It was a physical action pointing to a deeper, spiritual reality. And when you finally see what Jesus was actually doing at that wedding, it changes everything. It changes how you view God. It changes how you view your own failures. And it completely changes how you understand the way God works in your moments of emptiness. Because right now, you might feel like your own wine has run out. Maybe you are running on empty. You are exhausted. You are carrying a heavy sense of failure, or you are terrified that you do not have enough left to give. If that is you, then this story was written for you. Here are 5 profound truths hidden in Jesus' first miracle that reveal what he was actually doing and what he still wants to do in your life today. Number 1, he cares about your hidden shame, not just your visible survival. To understand this miracle, you have to understand the culture of the ancient Middle East. A wedding in the 1st century was not a 4-hour event. It was a massive community celebration that lasted for an entire week. The entire village was invited. And in that culture, hospitality was not just a nice gesture. It was a strict moral obligation. To run out of wine at a wedding was not just an inconvenience. It was a social disaster. It was a profound disgrace that would bring lasting shame upon the bride, the groom, and their families. People would remember it for years. The family would be marked by this failure. So when Mary comes to Jesus and whispers, "They have no more wine," she is not pointing out a beverage shortage. She is pointing at an incoming wave of public shame. She is saying, their joy is running out. Their dignity is about to collapse. They are about to be humiliated. And this is where we learn the very first thing about the heart of Jesus. Jesus cares about your shame. Often we think God only cares about our survival. We think he only steps in during life or death situations, during massive health crises, or extreme financial ruin. We think our emotional pain, our embarrassment, or our social failures are too small for God to care about. But look at what Jesus does. His very first miracle is not raising the dead. It is not walking on water. It is not curing a terminal illness. His very first miracle is saving a family from public embarrassment. He intervenes to protect their dignity. Sometimes, you start thinking that God is too busy running the universe to care about the things that make you feel small. You think your anxieties, your insecurities, or your fears of failure do not matter to him. But mature faith understands something incredibly comforting. If it matters to you, it matters to him. He is the God who meets you in the middle of your inadequacy. He sees the places where you feel like you are not enough, where your resources have run dry, and he does not dismiss your pain. He steps into it. Number 2, he waits for your resources to end so his grace can begin. There is a strange detail in this story that many people overlook. Jesus and his disciples were guests at this wedding. They were there when the party started. They were there when the wine was flowing. But Jesus does absolutely nothing until the wine is completely gone. He does not intervene when the wine is running low. He does not replenish the jars when they are halfway empty. He waits until they have absolutely nothing left. Why? Because human resources have to reach their limit before divine grace can be fully recognized. As long as we have a backup plan, we will rely on it. As long as we have a little bit of our own strength left, we will trust our own strength. We try to fix our own problems. We try to manufacture our own joy. We try to hold our lives together with our own cleverness. Your mouth says, "I trust God," but your actions are frantically trying to control the outcome. And sometimes, God will allow you to reach the end of yourself. He will allow the wine to run out. He will allow the door to close. He will allow the strength to fade, not to punish you, but to position you. Because as long as you can provide for yourself, you will never fully realize that He is the true provider. The end of your resources is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of His miracle. The moment you look around and realize, I have nothing left. I do not know what to do. I am completely empty. That is the exact moment you are finally in a position to receive from Him. Think about your own life right now. What has run out? Is it your patience? Is it your energy? Is it your hope for a specific situation? Are you looking at empty jars in your marriage, in your career, or in your spiritual life? Do not panic when the wine runs out. The emptiness is not a sign of His absence. The emptiness is the very canvas He needs to paint the miracle on. Number 3, He transforms the heavy burdens of religion into the joy of relationship. This is perhaps the most theological and breathtaking part of the entire miracle. When Jesus decides to act, He does not just magically make wine appear out of thin air. He tells the servants to fill 6 stone water jars with water. Now, John is a very specific writer. He does not include details by accident. He specifically notes that these were not ordinary jars. They were stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing. These jars held about 20 to 30 gallons each. These jars were not meant for drinking. They were meant for ritual purification. Under the Old Testament law, people had to constantly wash their hands, their cups, and their plates to be ceremonially clean before God. These heavy stone jars represented the heavy burden of the law. They represented humanity's constant, exhausting attempt to wash away their own sin and make themselves acceptable to God. And they were sitting there, empty, because the law could never truly make a person clean. Religion can only wash the outside. It can never transform the inside. So what does Jesus do? He takes the very symbols of dead religion, the heavy stone jars of human effort, and He fills them with new wine. In the Bible, wine is a symbol of joy, celebration, and the presence of the Holy Spirit. Jesus was making a massive statement. He was saying, the days of trying to wash yourself clean are over. The days of heavy, empty religion are finished. I am bringing something entirely new. I am replacing the water of the law with the wine of grace. This is why this miracle matters so much. If you are not careful, your Christian faith can become just like those empty stone jars. Heavy, cold, exhausting. You start treating your relationship with God like a checklist of rules. You focus entirely on what you must do for God, instead of what God has already done for you. You try to purify yourself through perfectionism. But Jesus did not come to give you a heavier burden. He came to transform the water of your weary religious efforts into the joyful wine of a relationship with Him. He wants to take the places in your life that feel dry, rigid, and obligatory, and fill them with life, passion, and grace. When Jesus steps in, the burden of performing for God is replaced by the joy of resting in God. Number 4, His timing often contradicts our panic, but His timing is always perfect. When Mary first tells Jesus about the problem, Jesus gives a response that sounds almost harsh to our modern ears. He says, "Woman, why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come." Mary is operating on a timeline of panic. The wine is gone right now. The shame is coming right now. The problem needs fixing right now. But Jesus refuses to be rushed by human anxiety. Jesus operates on a completely different timeline. He is listening to the rhythm of heaven, not the panic of earth. My hour has not yet come. This is a crucial lesson for spiritually mature Christians. We love God's promises, but we absolutely hate His process. We want the miracle, but we do not want the waiting. We bring our emergencies to God, and we expect Him to act according to our schedule. And when He does not, we immediately assume He does not care. But notice Mary's reaction. She does not argue with Him. She does not throw a fit. She does not try to manipulate Him. She simply turns to the servants and says, "Do whatever He tells you." That is what mature faith looks like. Mary relinquishes control. She presents the problem to God, and then she steps back and leaves the timing and the method entirely in His hands. She does not give Him a deadline, she just gives Him her trust. Are you currently frustrated by God's timing? Are you looking at a situation in your life and thinking, "God, why haven't you fixed this yet? The wine has been gone for months. My hour of desperation is here." Why are you waiting? You have to learn to trust the pause. Just because Jesus does not act immediately does not mean He is ignoring you. He is orchestrating things you cannot see. Sometimes He waits because the delay is preparing your heart to carry the weight of the blessing. Sometimes he waits because an immediate fix would rob you of a deeper revelation of his character. Your job is not to dictate the timeline. Your job is to adopt the posture of Mary. Do whatever he tells you. Obey him in the waiting. Keep filling the jars with water. Keep doing the ordinary, daily acts of obedience, even when you cannot see how they will ever turn into a miracle. Fill the jars of prayer. Fill the jars of kindness. Fill the jars of faithfulness. And trust that at the exact right moment, he will do what only he can do. Number 5, he reveals his glory to the servants, not the comfortable. When the water is turned into wine, Jesus tells the servants to draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. The master tastes it, and he is astonished. He calls the bridegroom aside and says, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." The master of the banquet got to taste the miracle. But John includes a fascinating little detail in verse 9. He writes, "He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew." The master of the banquet was the most important guy in the room. He was sitting at the head table. He was comfortable. He enjoyed the blessing, but he had absolutely no idea where it came from. He missed the miracle entirely. But the servants knew, the people who were working behind the scenes, the people who were sweating, hauling heavy jars of water, the people who were operating in the background, far away from the spotlight. They were the ones who got a front row seat to the glory of God. God does his deepest work in the unseen places, and he usually reveals his greatest truths to the people who are willing to take the lowest position. Sometimes, we chase comfort. We want to sit at the head table of life. We want everything to be easy, recognized, and applauded. But spiritual maturity understands that the deepest intimacy with Jesus is rarely found at the head table. It is found in the kitchen. It is found in the places of service. It is found in the quiet moments of serving others, in the hidden sacrifices you make that nobody else sees. If you feel overlooked right now, if you feel like you are pouring yourself out in a marriage, in raising your children, in your church, or in your job, and nobody seems to notice, take heart. The master of the banquet may not see it, but Jesus sees it. And it is in those places of humble service that you will experience the reality of God more profoundly than anyone sitting in comfort ever will. The servants knew, because when you work alongside Jesus, you get to see him for who he truly is. And finally, number 6, when God restores, he does not just replace, he upgrades. Look again at the master's reaction. You have saved the best till now. The wine that Jesus created was not just adequate. It was not just good enough to get them through the rest of the night. It was the finest wine the master had ever tasted. It was superior to the wine they started with. This is the beautiful, overwhelming reality of God's redemption. When we mess up, when our plans fall apart, when we run dry, our greatest hope is usually just to get back to where we started. We pray, "God, just fix it. Just give me back what I lost. Just make it normal again." But that is not how the grace of God operates. When God takes hold of your brokenness, when he takes hold of your empty jars, he does not just restore you to your previous state. He transforms you into something better, something deeper, something more beautiful than you were before the crisis happened. The joy you have after walking through a dark valley with God is richer than the joy you had before you knew what darkness was. The faith you have after wrestling with doubt is stronger than the fragile faith you had when everything was easy. The comfort you can offer someone else after surviving a broken heart is more profound than anything you could have offered before. He saves the best for last. The enemy of your soul wants you to look at your empty jars and believe that your best days are behind you. The enemy wants you to believe that because you failed, because you ran out, because the situation collapsed, your future will forever be a watered-down, second-rate version of what could have been. But the first miracle of Jesus violently opposes that lie. God takes ordinary water and turns it into extraordinary wine. He takes your ordinary days, your ordinary struggles, and even your ordinary failures, and when you surrender them to him, he begins a quiet, unseen process of transformation. It does not happen instantly. Water does not turn into wine without the touch of the Creator, and your life does not heal without his presence. But if you will trust him, if you will invite him into the place of your shame, if you will obey his words even when his timing frustrates you, you will eventually taste the result. You will look back at the very thing that almost ruined you, the very season that completely emptied you, and you will realize that God used it to produce a depth of character, a peace, and a joy that you never could have manufactured on your own. So what are you doing with your empty jars today? Are you trying to hide them? Are you ashamed of them? Are you frantically trying to fill them with temporary things that will only leave you thirsty again? Stop pretending everything is fine. Stop trying to protect God from your reality. Bring him the emptiness. Tell him, Lord, the wine is gone. My patience is gone, my strength is gone, my understanding is gone. And then, adopt the posture of Mary. Do whatever he tells you. Keep walking, keep praying, keep serving in the unseen places. Because spiritual maturity is not having a life where the wine never runs out. Spiritual maturity is knowing exactly who to turn to when it does. And it is trusting that the God who spoke the universe into existence is still in the business of saving the best for last. If this message resonated with you today, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might be looking at their own empty jars right now, wondering if God still sees them. And in the comments, just write this simple declaration: Lord, fill my empty jars with your grace. Keep trusting his timing, keep obeying his voice, and keep watching for his miracles in the unseen places of your life.